Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to tell you something so radical, so utterly transformative, that if you truly grasp it, you will never see yourself or your world the same way again. You have never lived, and you will never die. I can see the confusion in your faces. But Neville, you're thinking, I am clearly alive. I breathe, I think, I experience. How can you say I've never lived? And that is precisely the point I am going to illuminate tonight. What you call living, what you believe is your life, is not life at all. It is consciousness experiencing itself through the lens of individuality. It is the infinite imagining itself as the finite. It is God dreaming that He is you. And if you have never truly lived as a separate, independent being, then you can never truly die. For what never began cannot end. What was never born cannot perish. You are not a body that has consciousness. You are consciousness that is dreaming itself as a body. Tonight I will take you deep into the nature of consciousness itself. I will show you that the entire world you perceive, everything you call out there, exists nowhere but within you. And I will prove to you that you are not in the universe. The universe is in you. Let me begin by shattering the fundamental illusion that has imprisoned humanity since the beginning of time. The illusion that you are separate from the world you perceive. You believe you are a small being, a tiny consciousness, trapped inside a body, moving through a vast external world. You believe you were born on a certain date, that you will live for a certain number of years, and that eventually you will die and cease to exist. This belief is the root of all suffering, all fear, all sense of limitation, and it is completely, utterly, fundamentally false. The truth is this: you are not inside the world is inside you. You are not a fragment of consciousness experiencing a vast external reality. You are consciousness itself, and everything you perceive as external to you exists entirely within your own awareness. Think about this carefully. Right now, you believe you are sitting in a room, in a building, in a city, on a planet, in a universe. But let me ask you, where are you actually experiencing this room? Where is this experience happening? Stop for a moment and really consider this. You think the room is out there, separate from you? But is it? Have you ever stepped outside of your own experience to verify that the room exists independently? The answer is no. You cannot. Everything you know about this room, you know through your experience of it. The sights, the sounds, the feeling of the chair beneath you. All of this is happening in one place in your experience, in your awareness, in what we call consciousness. Let me make this simpler. When you see a tree, where does that seeing happen? You might say the tree is outside. But the actual experience of seeing the tree, the image of the tree, the greenness of its leaves, the sense of it being there, all of that is happening inside your awareness, not outside of it. You have never, not even once in your entire life, experienced anything outside of your own awareness. Every sound you've ever heard, you heard within your awareness. Every touch you felt within your awareness. Every sight, every smell, every taste, all of it happened within the field of your own experience. Think about it this way. If you are not aware of something, does it exist for you? If you cannot see it, hear it, touch it, taste it, smell it, or think about it, does it exist in your experience? No. For something to exist in your world, you must be aware of it. This means everything in your world, everything you call reality, exists within your awareness, not outside of it. The room is not separate from your experience of the room. The people are not separate from your experience of the people. The entire world you perceive exists as your experience of it, within your awareness. Now here is where it gets profound. What you call out there is actually in here. What you think is external to you is actually internal to you. Not internal to your body, but internal to your awareness, to your consciousness, to the experiencing of life itself. You are not a person inside a room. You are the awareness in which the experience of being a person in a room appears. You are not separate from your world. You are the field of awareness in which the entire world appears. This is not poetry or mysticism. This is simply observing what is actually true about your experience. You have never stepped outside of your awareness. You have never touched anything that wasn't an experience within consciousness. You have never been separate from your world, because your world exists as your awareness of it. And if this is true, if everything you experience exists within your awareness, then changing your world is not about manipulating external things. It's about changing your awareness itself. Change what you are aware of. Change how you are aware, and your entire world must change, because your world is your awareness. Let me illustrate this with an analogy that will make it clear. Think about your dreams at night. When you dream, you create entire worlds. You populate them with people. You experience events, emotions, sensations. The dream feels completely real while you are in it. Now, where does that dream take place? Not in some external location. It takes place entirely within your consciousness. The people in your dream are not separate beings. They are aspects of your own consciousness appearing as separate characters. The world of the dream is not outside of you. It is you expressing as a dream. When you wake up, you realize this immediately. You understand that the entire dream was your consciousness creating and experiencing itself. Nothing in the dream had independent existence. It was all you. Now here is the truth that will transform everything. Your waking life operates by exactly the same principle. This life you are living right now, this world you perceive as solid and external, is no different from a dream. It is consciousness, your consciousness, creating and experiencing itself. The only difference between your nighttime dreams and your waking dream is that the waking dream is more stable, more consistent, more convincing. But it is a dream nonetheless, and you are not a character in the dream. You are the dreamer. You are not John or Mary or whoever you believe yourself to be. That is a character, a role, a temporary expression. The real you is the consciousness that is dreaming this entire experience into being. And if you are the dreamer, not the dream, then you have never been born, and you can never die, because the dreamer exists before the dream, during the dream, and after the dream. The dreamer is eternal, infinite, unchanging consciousness. Now let me go deeper into the nature of consciousness itself, because this is the foundation of everything I teach. Consciousness is not something you have. Consciousness is what you are, and consciousness is all that exists. There is nothing outside of consciousness. There is nothing other than consciousness. Everything that appears to exist, everything you perceive as matter or energy or space or time, is simply consciousness appearing as these things. Science tells you that matter is solid, that the world is made of atoms and molecules and physical stuff. But quantum physics has discovered something extraordinary. When you look closely at matter, it dissolves into energy. And when you look closely at energy, it dissolves into probability waves. And when you look closely at probability waves, they collapse into existence only when they are observed by consciousness. Matter is not the foundation of reality. Consciousness is the foundation of reality. Matter is simply how consciousness appears when it takes form. You are not a physical being having a spiritual experience. You are consciousness itself, temporarily forgetting your true nature and experiencing yourself as a physical being. And here is what this means for your life. If consciousness is all that exists, and you are consciousness, then you are all that exists. Not your ego, not your personality, not the character you play in this dream, but the consciousness that you are, the awareness that is aware of all experience, that is the only reality. Everything else, every single thing you perceive as outside of you, is consciousness appearing as outside, but remaining always inside, always within the one infinite awareness that you are. Let me make this intensely practical. Every person you meet, every situation you encounter, every circumstance you experience exists in one place and one place only, in your consciousness. When you interact with another person, you are not actually interacting with an independent being outside of you. You are interacting with your consciousness of that person. When you see a tree, you are not seeing an external tree. You are experiencing your consciousness appearing as a tree. This is why I teach that everyone is you pushed out. Because there is no out there separate from you. There is only consciousness, and you are that consciousness. And everything you experience is that consciousness taking form. Think about what this means. If the world is your consciousness externalized, then changing your world does not require you to manipulate external circumstances. It requires you to change your consciousness. Change your consciousness, and the world must change, because the world is consciousness. If you are experiencing poverty, it is because poverty exists in your consciousness. If you are experiencing illness, it is because illness exists in your consciousness. If you are experiencing loneliness, it is because loneliness exists in your consciousness. But here is the liberating truth. If these conditions exist in your consciousness, you can change them in there. And when you change them in consciousness, they must change in your experience, because consciousness is the only reality. You are not powerless before external circumstances. You are the creator of circumstances through your consciousness. You are not subject to the world. The world is subject to you because the world is you. Now let us return to the profound statement that opened this lecture. You have never lived and you will never die. What I mean is this: the consciousness that you are has never been born and can never cease to be. Consciousness is eternal. It has no beginning and no end. It exists before all time and after all time. It is the ground of all being, the source of all existence. The body you inhabit will be born and will die. The personality you express will come into being and will fade away. The character you play in this dream will have a beginning and an end. But these are not you. These are experiences within consciousness, appearances within awareness. The real you, the consciousness that is aware of the body, aware of the personality, aware of the character, that consciousness has never begun and will never end. Think about your own experience. Can you remember a time when you did not exist? Not when your body did not exist, but when you, the awareness, the consciousness did not exist. You cannot. Because consciousness has always been. It is the eternal witness, the unchanging awareness in which all experience arises and passes away. And can you imagine a future in which you, the awareness, will cease to exist? Can you conceive of consciousness ending? You cannot. Because consciousness is eternal. It does not end. It cannot end. It is the very ground of existence itself. What you call death is simply the end of one dream and the beginning of another. It is consciousness withdrawing from one form and expressing through another. It is the dreamer waking from one dream and entering another. But the dreamer never dies. The consciousness never ceases. You, the real you, the eternal awareness, continue forever because you have existed forever. Here is another profound truth about consciousness. Time is an illusion created within consciousness. Time does not exist outside of it. There is no past, no future, only the eternal now of awareness. When you remember the past, where does that memory exist? In the present moment of consciousness. When you imagine the future, where does that imagination exist? In the present moment of consciousness. All of time, past, present, and future, exists only in the eternal now of awareness. This is why I teach that you can revise the past. Because the past is not a fixed reality existing somewhere outside of consciousness. The past is a present memory, and present memories can be changed. Let me reveal to you an even deeper mystery. Not only is the world within you, not only are you eternal consciousness, but there is only one consciousness. There is only one awareness. There is only one I am. You believe you are separate from other people, that there are billions of individual consciousnesses, all experiencing their own separate realities. But this is the grandest illusion of all. There is only one consciousness experiencing itself as many. There is only one awareness appearing as billions of individual awarenesses. There is only one I am speaking through every mouth, looking through every eye, experiencing through every body. When you look at another person, you are not looking at someone separate from you. You are looking at yourself in disguise. You are the one consciousness looking at itself through different eyes. And if there is only one consciousness and you are that consciousness, then you are not a small separate being living in a vast universe. You are the entire universe dreaming itself as a small separate being. You are not in the world is in you. You are not one among many. You are the one appearing as many. You are not a part of God. You are God pretending to be a part. Now, what does it mean to live from this understanding? How does your life change when you realize that you have never been born and will never die? That the entire world exists within you? That you are infinite consciousness temporarily dreaming itself as finite form? First, all fear dissolves. What is there to fear when you are eternal? What can threaten you when you are infinite? What can harm you when you are the consciousness in which all harm appears? Death becomes meaningless. Not because you will live forever in this body, but because the consciousness you are has never been born and cannot die. The body will perish, but you are not the body. You are the awareness in which the body appears. Second, all limitation dissolves. If the world is within you, if circumstances are your consciousness externalized, then you can change anything by changing your consciousness. There are no external barriers, no real obstacles, no genuine limitations. There is only consciousness and its infinite creative power. Third, all separation dissolves. You realize that every person you meet is yourself in disguise, that every enemy is yourself wearing a mask, that every stranger is yourself pretending not to recognize yourself. This creates a profound sense of unity, of love, of compassion for all beings, because you realize that in hurting another, you hurt yourself. In loving another, you love yourself. In seeing another as separate, you forget yourself. So how do you live from this truth? How do you maintain awareness that you are infinite consciousness, not a limited body? The practice is simple but profound. Remember, throughout your day, pause and remember. Remember that you are not this body. Remember that you are not this personality. Remember that you are the consciousness in which all experience arises. When you look at the world, remember that you are not looking at something external. You are looking at your own consciousness appearing as the world. When you encounter a challenge, remember that you are not a small being facing a big problem. You are infinite consciousness experiencing a temporary appearance of limitation. When you feel fear or anxiety, remember that you are eternal. Nothing can threaten the consciousness that you are. When you feel separate from others, remember that there is only one consciousness, and you are that consciousness experiencing itself as many. This remembering is the greatest spiritual practice. Not to achieve something you lack, but to remember what you already are. Not to become enlightened, but to recognize that you are enlightenment itself, temporarily pretending to be unenlightened. My friends, I invite you tonight to consider the possibility that everything I have said is literally, actually, completely true. Not as metaphor, not as poetry, not as philosophy, but as the direct description of reality. You have never lived because the consciousness you are was never born. You will never die because consciousness is eternal. The world is not outside of you. The world is inside you within consciousness. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. And if this is true, if you are infinite consciousness temporarily dreaming itself as finite form, then what becomes possible? Everything. Absolutely everything. Because you are not subject to the laws of the physical world. You are the consciousness that creates those laws. You are not limited by circumstances. You are the consciousness that creates circumstances. You are not powerless before the world. You are the creative power that manifests as the world. This is your true identity. This is what you actually are. Not the small, separate, limited being you believe yourself to be, but infinite, eternal, all-powerful consciousness itself. And when you truly know this, when you live from this understanding, when you remember this truth in every moment, then you become what you have always been, the conscious creator of your reality, the dreamer of your dream, the infinite expressing as the finite. You have never lived in the sense you thought, and you will never die, because you are consciousness itself, eternal and infinite, dreaming the dream of separation and one day awakening to your true nature. The world is not outside. The world is inside. You are not in consciousness. Consciousness is all there is, appearing as you, appearing as me, appearing as everything. This is the deepest truth I can share with you. Meditate upon it, contemplate it, test it in your experience, and gradually you will awaken from the dream of separation into the reality of unity, from the illusion of limitation into the truth of infinite creative power. You are consciousness. You have always been consciousness. You will always be consciousness. And consciousness is all that is, all that has ever been, and all that will ever be. Thank you. And good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video. My dear friends, tonight I want to speak to you about a prison. Not one made of bars or walls, but one far more binding. A prison constructed entirely of your own acceptance of the evidence of your senses. You see, most of humanity lives their entire life imprisoned in what we call the three-dimensional world. They wake each morning, open their eyes, and immediately surrender their power to what they see, what they hear, what they touch. They believe that this world of Caesar, this world of effects, is the cause of their experience. And in that belief, they become its prisoner. But I tell you tonight, and I tell you with complete conviction, you are not meant to live as a reactor to the three-dimensional world. You were born to be its creator. The moment you understand this, truly understand it, the prison walls dissolve and you step into the freedom that has always been yours. Let me explain what I mean by this trap. For it is subtle, and it has ensnared nearly everyone who walks this earth. You have a desire, perhaps it's for wealth, for health, for love, for recognition. And in a moment of inspiration, you turn within. You use your imagination. You feel it real. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And in that glorious moment, you touch something true. You touch power. You touch creation itself. But then, and this is where the trap springs, you open your eyes and return to the world of Caesar. You look at your bank account, and it shows lack. You look at your body, and it shows illness. You look at your relationships, and they reflect loneliness. And what do? You react. You say to yourself, well, I tried that imagination thing, but look, nothing has changed. The facts are still the facts. And in that moment of reaction, in that moment of bowing to the evidence of your senses, you have re-imprisoned yourself. You have made the three-dimensional world your God. Now, I must make something clear to you, for this is where most people stumble and fall. There is always a gap, what I call an interval, between your assumption in imagination and its manifestation in the three-dimensional world. Always. This is not a flaw in the law. This is not evidence that imagination doesn't work. This interval exists for a very specific reason. Think of it this way: when you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up the next day to see if it's growing. You know there is a period of gestation, a time during which the invisible work is being done beneath the surface. You water it, you tend it, and you wait with confidence, knowing that in due time the sprout will appear. Your imagination works the same way. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you have planted a seed in the invisible realm of consciousness. That seed is now growing, developing, preparing to break through into the visible world. But it needs time, and more importantly, it needs your fidelity. The three-dimensional world you see at this moment is nothing more than the fruit of seeds you planted weeks, months, perhaps even years ago, through your habitual thinking and feeling. It is yesterday's crop. It is the past, frozen in time, appearing before you as solid reality. But it is not your future. It is not what you are creating now. It is only what you have already created. Here is the great deception. Your senses tell you that what you see, hear, and touch is reality. And because your senses are so convincing, so immediate, so persistent in their testimony, you believe them. Your eyes show you poverty, and you believe you are poor. Your body feels pain, and you believe you are sick. Your circumstances show you alone, and you believe you are unloved. But I tell you, your senses are liars. Not in the sense that they don't accurately report what is there, they do. But they lie in their claim to be the final authority on what is real and what is possible. They lie when they suggest that the visible world is the cause rather than the effect. Scripture tells us, we walk by faith, not by sight. Do you know what that means? It means we must learn to trust the invisible reality of our imagination more than the visible reality of our senses. We must learn to give greater weight to what we assume in consciousness than to what appears in the world of effects. This is the hardest thing for the human being to do, because the three-dimensional world is loud. It is insistent. It demands your attention and your agreement. And the moment you give it that agreement, the moment you say, yes, this is reality, this is the truth of my situation, you have imprisoned yourself once again. Now let me tell you something that will help you understand why this trap is so powerful and how you can escape it. Within you are two minds, though you experience yourself as one being. I call them the outer mind and the inner mind. But you might also think of them as the mind of the senses and the mind of imagination. The outer mind, the mind of the senses, lives entirely in the three-dimensional world. It observes, it analyzes, it judges based on what it perceives. It is logical, practical, concerned with survival. It wants proof before it will believe. It scans the visible world constantly, looking for confirmation that things are going well or going poorly. This mind is not your enemy, but it is not your master either. It is a servant that has forgotten its place and has set itself up as king. The inner mind, the mind of imagination, is where your true power resides. This is the mind that creates. This is the consciousness that preceded the world and brought it into being. In the beginning was the Word, Scripture tells us. The Word is your imagination, your I am, your consciousness itself. When these two minds are in conflict, when the outer mind contradicts what the inner mind has assumed, you experience what feels like a crisis. The outer mind says, look at the facts. You don't have the money. The inner mind says, I am wealthy. The outer mind says, look at your body. You are sick. The inner mind says, I am healthy. And you must choose which mind you will serve, which mind you will give your loyalty to. Most people, without even realizing they're doing it, choose the outer mind. They choose the evidence of the senses. They choose the testimony of the three-dimensional world. And in that choice they remain imprisoned, creating and recreating the same reality they're trying to escape. Let me tell you plainly what the three-dimensional world is. For when you understand its true nature, its power over you will dissolve. The three-dimensional world is shadow. It is echo. It is reflection. Think of it as a mirror. When you stand before a mirror, you see your reflection. If you don't like what you see, would you try to change the reflection directly? Would you reach toward the mirror and try to rearrange the image? Of course not. That would be madness. You know instinctively that to change the reflection, you must change what is being reflected. You must change yourself, and the mirror has no choice but to show the new image. The three-dimensional world is exactly the same. It is a perfect mirror of your consciousness, of your habitual dwelling place in imagination. If you don't like what you see in the world, you cannot change it by manipulating the world. You can only change it by changing your consciousness, by changing what you are assuming to be true about yourself. When you argue with the three-dimensional world, when you try to fix it, manipulate it, force it to be different, you are arguing with a shadow. You are trying to manipulate a reflection, and shadows and reflections have no power to resist, but they also have no power to change until you change. Here is where I must be very direct with you, for this is where most people lose their way. When the three-dimensional world shows you something you don't like, you are tempted to negotiate with it. You are tempted to make deals, to compromise, to adjust your vision to match what you see. You say things like, well, maybe I can't have the whole thing, but perhaps I can have part of it. Or maybe my desire was too big, too unrealistic. Let me adjust it to something more reasonable. Or maybe this is a sign that I should give up and accept my circumstances. Every one of these thoughts is a negotiation with the three-dimensional world. And I tell you now, the moment you negotiate with the 3D, you have given it authority over your imagination. You have made the effect more real than the cause. You have bowed down to Caesar and forgotten that you are the operant power. Do not negotiate with the three-dimensional world. Let me say that again because it is crucial. Do not negotiate with the three-dimensional world. When circumstances press in, when the facts scream at you, when the evidence of your senses overwhelms you, you must stand firm in your assumption. You must remain loyal to the invisible state you have claimed in imagination. This is not stubbornness. This is not denial of reality. This is understanding which reality is cause and which is effect. This is knowing that consciousness is the only reality, and all else is its shadow. Now, how do you practically do this? How do you stop reacting to the three-dimensional world when it appears so real, so solid, so unchangeable? First, you must catch yourself in the act of reacting. You must become aware of the moment when you see something unwanted and feel yourself beginning to accept it as truth, beginning to adjust your inner state to match the outer facts. The moment you notice this happening, and you will notice it more and more as you become conscious of it, you pause. You do not move forward in reaction. You do not let the outer dictate to the inner. Instead, you ask yourself, is this evidence of who I was or who I now am? That single question will cut through the illusion. It will remind you that what you see in the three-dimensional world is always old news. It is the harvest of seeds you planted in the past through your previous assumptions. It has nothing to do with who you have become in imagination now. If you have assumed wealth in your imagination, then you are wealthy in consciousness, regardless of what your bank account currently shows. The bank account is showing you who you were. Your imagination is showing you who you are. And between these two, you must choose which one you will give reality to. Let me give you a practical tool that has proven invaluable to those who practice it faithfully. Revision. When something happens in your three-dimensional world that contradicts your assumption, when you receive bad news, when circumstances appear to move in the wrong direction, when people act in ways that deny your fulfilled desire, do not accept it. Instead, immediately revise it in your imagination. If you receive a rejection letter, sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine receiving an acceptance letter. Feel it in your hands. Read the words of approval and enthusiasm. Make it vivid and real in your imagination. If someone speaks to you harshly, denying your worth, immediately replay the scene in your imagination, with them speaking to you with respect and kindness. Hear their voice saying what you would have heard had the world been as you desire. This is not pretending. This is not make-believe. This is exercising your power as the creator of your reality. You are refusing to let the three-dimensional world write your story. You are taking the pen back and writing the story yourself. Every time you revise, you are saying to the universe, to the three-dimensional world, no, I do not accept this version. This is not consistent with who I am in my imagination, and therefore it is not my reality. And when you persist in this, when you refuse to negotiate, when you consistently choose your imaginal state over the evidence of your senses, the three-dimensional world has no choice but to conform. I want you to understand something fundamental. You are not a victim of the three-dimensional world. You are its cause. Consciousness is the only reality. I have said this countless times, but I will say it again because it is the foundation of everything. Consciousness is the only reality, and all else is its manifestation. You are consciousness. You are the I am. You are not the body that walks through this three-dimensional world. You are not the personality with its history and its limitations. You are the eternal awareness, the imaging power, the very presence of God individualized. When you know this, not as a concept, but as a living truth, you cannot be imprisoned by anything external. How can that which creates the world be imprisoned by its own creation? The three-dimensional world has no power except the power you give it through your belief, through your reaction, through your acceptance of its testimony as final. The moment you withdraw that power, the moment you refuse to bow to its authority, it loses its grip on you. It becomes what it has always been, clay in the hands of consciousness, waiting to be molded into whatever form consciousness assumes. Now let me tell you the secret of escaping this prison permanently. You must live from the end. What does this mean? It means you must assume the consciousness of your wish already fulfilled, and live in that assumption as though it were already a fact in the three-dimensional world, even when all evidence denies it. If you desire wealth, you do not imagine yourself becoming wealthy. You imagine from the state of being wealthy. You assume the feeling of wealth now. You think as the wealthy man thinks. You speak as the wealthy man speaks. You carry yourself as the wealthy man carries himself. You do this not as an act, not as a performance, but as an assumption of truth. You are not pretending to be wealthy while secretly knowing you are poor. You are claiming wealth in consciousness, and you are remaining loyal to that claim regardless of what the three-dimensional mirror currently reflects. This is what I mean by living from the end. You skip over all the means, all the process, all the how, and you go straight to the end, to the fulfillment of your desire. You assume it is already done, and you live in that assumption. The three-dimensional world will test you. It will show you evidence that contradicts your assumption. It will present you with circumstances that seem to make your desire impossible. This is not the universe punishing you or denying you. This is simply the old reflection still playing out while the new one is being formed. Your job is to remain faithful to the new assumption, to continue living from the end, to refuse to negotiate with the old reality. And in time, in God's time, which is always perfect, the three-dimensional world will rearrange itself to match your assumption. It must. It has no choice. Because consciousness is cause and the world is effect. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they finally understand that they are not trapped in the three-dimensional world at all, that the prison was always an illusion, maintained only by their belief in it. When you reach that moment, and you will if you persist, you will laugh at how seriously you once took the evidence of your senses. You will marvel at how you allowed shadows to frighten you, how you let reflections convince you of their permanence. You will realize that you were never imprisoned. You simply believed you were, and that belief created the experience of imprisonment. The truth is, you have always been free. You have always been the operant power. You have always been the creator standing behind the mirror, capable of changing the reflection at will. The three-dimensional world has never had power over you. You gave it power through your acceptance of its verdict as final. And the moment you withdraw that acceptance, the moment you reclaim your authority as consciousness itself, the prison walls dissolve. Let me give you a practice to take with you from tonight's lecture. Tomorrow morning when you wake, before you open your eyes, before you allow the three-dimensional world to flood in with its facts and circumstances, take a moment to remember who you are. Say to yourself, I am the operant power, I am consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality. The world I see is my creation, and I can change it by changing my assumptions. Then throughout the day, whenever you are tempted to react to something in the three-dimensional world, whenever you feel yourself beginning to negotiate with circumstances, remember this. You are not in the world. The world is in you. You contain it all. You are not a small being trying to manipulate a large indifferent universe. You are consciousness itself, and the universe is your own wonderful human imagination pushed out. When you receive news that contradicts your assumption, say quietly to yourself, this is who I was, not who I am. I do not negotiate with yesterday. I remain in my chosen state. When your senses show you lack, remember that they are showing you the past. Turn within and feel abundance now. Do not wait for the three-dimensional proof. Be abundant in consciousness, and let the proof follow. When people act in ways that deny your fulfilled desire, do not argue with them. Do not try to convince them. Simply revise the interaction in your imagination. See them and hear them responding to you as they would respond to the person you have become in imagination. This is not difficult. It requires no special talent or ability. It requires only persistence, only loyalty to your imaginal state, only refusal to bow to the tyranny of facts. I must warn you, you will be tested, not by some external force, not by a punishing God, but by the simple mechanics of creation. The three-dimensional world will continue to reflect your old assumptions for a time after you have changed them. This is the interval I spoke of earlier, the gap between planting and harvest. During this interval, you will be tempted to doubt. You will be tempted to think that your new assumption isn't working, that imagination isn't powerful enough, that perhaps you should return to trying to manipulate the outer world. This is the test. This is where most people fail. They remain in their new state for a day, perhaps a week, perhaps even a month. But when the three-dimensional world doesn't immediately reflect the change, they fold. They return to the old state. They begin to negotiate. And in doing so, they plant the old seed again. They recreate the very reality they were trying to escape. Do not make this mistake. Persist, remain faithful. Stay loyal to your assumption regardless of what you see, regardless of how long it takes, regardless of how loudly the three-dimensional world protests. I promise you, on the authority of my own experience and the experience of countless others who have proven this law, if you persist, if you refuse to negotiate, if you remain in the state of the wish fulfilled, the three-dimensional world will conform. It must conform, because it has no choice, because it is not the cause, you are. Tonight I have told you that you are trapped in 3D, but the moment you truly hear this message, the moment you truly understand it, you are no longer trapped, because the trap exists only in your belief. The three-dimensional world is not your prison. Your acceptance of it as final authority is your prison. And you hold the key. You have always held the key. That key is your imagination, your consciousness, your I am. Use it. Claim your desire in imagination. Feel it as real now, not in some distant future. Assume the state of the wish fulfilled. And then, and this is crucial, remain in that state, no matter what the three-dimensional world shows you. Do not negotiate with appearances. Do not make deals with circumstances. Do not adjust your vision to match the mirror. Instead, hold your vision firm and watch as the mirror adjusts to match you. You are not meant to be a prisoner of the world. You are meant to be its creator, its master, its operant power. And the moment you step into that truth, the moment you refuse to give the three-dimensional world authority over your consciousness, you are free. Free to create, free to imagine, free to become anything you desire to be. The prison has no walls. It never did. Walk out. You are free. Thank you and good evening. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I am going to tell you something so radical, so revolutionary, that it will shatter everything you thought you knew about reality. I am going to prove to you that your life is a simulation. Nothing is happening out there. Nothing has ever happened out there. Everything, and I mean everything, is happening within your own consciousness, being projected outward like images on a screen. The world you see, touch, and experience is not the cause of your inner states. It is the effect. The people in your life are not independent agents acting upon you. They are reflections, animations, characters in the grand simulation that your consciousness is running every moment of every day. I can see some of you shifting uncomfortably already. Your rational mind is protesting, but Neville, I can clearly see other people making their own choices. I can feel the solidity of matter. I can experience events that seem to happen independent of my thoughts. And that, my friends, is precisely how convincing this simulation is. That is exactly how powerfully your consciousness has projected this three-dimensional theater of experience. But tonight I am going to pull back the curtain and show you the projection booth. I am going to prove to you that you are not a character in someone else's story. You are the author, the director, and the entire audience of your own experience. Let me begin with a simple truth that will unlock everything else. The world is a screen, and your consciousness is the projector. Think about a motion picture theater. When you watch a film, you see images moving on a screen, people talking, landscapes changing, dramas unfolding. But nothing is actually happening on the screen itself. The screen is perfectly passive, perfectly neutral. It simply reflects whatever the projector casts upon it. If a sad scene appears, the screen does not become sad. If a violent scene plays, the screen is not damaged. The screen remains unchanged by whatever images dance across its surface. All the action, all the story, all the content is coming from the projector, from the film running through the light. Your outer world is that screen. Your consciousness is the projector. And the film running through your consciousness is your inner conversation, your assumptions, your beliefs, your self-concept. Just last week, a woman came to me in absolute despair. Her husband was being cruel to her, she said. Her boss was disrespecting her. Her children were disobedient. Her neighbors were unfriendly. Everywhere she looked, she saw evidence of a hostile world acting upon her. I listened to her litany of complaints, and then I said something that shocked her. My dear, your husband is not being cruel to you. Your boss is not disrespecting you. Your children are not disobedient. These are all projections of your own inner state appearing on the screen of your experience. How can you say that? She cried. I'm not imagining this. These things are really happening. They are appearing to happen, I replied. But nothing is happening out there. It is all happening in here. I pointed to her heart, her mind. You are running a simulation based on your beliefs about yourself. And everyone in your world is playing their assigned role in that simulation perfectly. I asked her to examine her inner conversation, the silent dialogue she maintained with herself throughout each day. And as she became honest with herself, she admitted that she constantly told herself she was unworthy of respect, unlovable, inadequate as a mother, not valued at work. There is your film, I said. There is the content running through your projector. And the screen, your outer world, has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Your husband, your boss, your children, your neighbors. They are all characters in the simulation you are running. They are reflecting your inner assumptions about yourself. I taught her to change the film, to change her inner conversation from unworthiness to worthiness, from being unloved to being deeply loved, from inadequacy to capability. And as she persistently changed what was running through her consciousness, the screen began to change. Within weeks, her husband became more affectionate without her saying a word to him about it. Her boss began praising her work. Her children became more cooperative. Her neighbors grew friendly. Had these people changed? No. She had changed the simulation she was running, and they had no choice but to play their new roles in her revised script. Now let me take this deeper. Every person in your life is a character in your simulation. This does not mean they do not exist as conscious beings in their own right. It means that the version of them you experience is entirely determined by your consciousness, not by their independent choices. Think about this carefully. You have never met another person. You have only met your concept of that person. The husband you experience is not the husband that exists independently. It is your assumption about your husband made visible. Your boss, your mother, your children, your friends, you interact with your beliefs about them, not with them as they exist in themselves. And since consciousness is the only reality, your belief about them is the only version of them that exists in your world. This is why two people can know the same individual and have completely different experiences of them. One person experiences them as kind and generous. Another experiences them as cold and selfish. How can this be if people have fixed independent natures? It cannot be, unless each person is experiencing their own projection, their own simulation of that individual. This is the truth that most people find hardest to accept. Nothing in your world is independent of your consciousness. Nothing acts upon you from outside. Everything is your own consciousness pushed out, appearing as other people, circumstances, events. You think your bank balance is an independent fact. It is not. It is your assumption about money made visible. You think your health is determined by germs, genetics, age. It is not. It is your assumption about your body made manifest. You think the economy, the government, the weather are forces outside your control. They are not. In your personal simulation, they are all variables controlled by your consciousness. I know this sounds impossible. Your senses scream that the world is solid, independent, objective. But your senses are part of the simulation. They are designed to make the projection seem real, to make the screen seem solid. Let me tell you about a woman who discovered this truth in the most practical way. She had been trying to sell her house for over a year. The market was bad, she said. Buyers were scarce. Interest rates were too high. The economy was against her. She had 1,000 reasons why the house would not sell, all of them appearing to be independent facts about out there. I said to her, in your simulation you have programmed these obstacles. You are running a version of reality where houses do not sell easily. But you could just as easily run a different simulation where the market is perfect. Buyers are abundant, and your house sells immediately. But I can't control the market, she protested. You do not need to control the market out there, I replied. You need only change the market in your consciousness. In your simulation, the market is whatever you assume it to be, and the screen, the outer world, must reflect your assumption. I taught her to stop looking at external market conditions as independent facts, and to instead assume in her consciousness that her house was in high demand, that perfect buyers were already seeking it, that the sale was inevitable and imminent. She stopped reading negative real estate news. She stopped listening to reports about the bad market. Instead, she lived in the assumption that in her personal reality, houses like hers were selling quickly. She imagined the sold sign on her lawn. She felt the satisfaction of a completed sale. Within 3 weeks, she had multiple offers on her house and sold it for more than her asking price. The market had not changed out there, but in her simulation, the market had always been whatever she assumed it to be. And once she changed her assumption, the screen had to display different content. This is what I mean when I teach that you are the operant power in your world. You are not subject to forces outside yourself. You are the force that creates all the appearances you call outside. Your consciousness is running a simulation every moment. And that simulation has rules, but they are your rules, your assumptions, your beliefs. When you understand this, you realize you have been playing a game where you made the rules and then forgot you made them. You created the rule that money is hard to come by, and then you experienced difficulty with money and thought it was an external fact. You created the rule that love is scarce, that health declines with age, that success requires struggle, and then you experienced these limitations and believed they were imposed from outside, but they were never outside. They were always the content of your simulation, the film running through your projector, appearing on the screen of your experience. I can tell you these things, but you must prove them to yourself. And the proof is simple. Examine your life and you will see that it perfectly matches your inner assumptions. If you believe people are untrustworthy, look around. Your world is filled with people who betray you. If you believe money is scarce, examine your finances. Scarcity appears everywhere. If you believe you are unworthy of love, observe your relationships. They confirm your unworthiness. This is not coincidence. This is not bad luck. This is the precise mechanical operation of your consciousness projecting a simulation that matches its content. But here is the wonderful news. If your current experience is the perfect reflection of your current assumptions, then changing your assumptions must change your experience. It is law. It is inevitable. Now let me reveal to you the deepest secret of how consciousness actually works. Everything you experience is happening inside of you, not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally, actually, completely inside of you. Right now, as you listen to these words, you believe you are in a room, in a building, in a city, in a world. But I tell you that the room is in you. The building is in you. The city, the world, the entire universe exists nowhere but within your consciousness. You think you are a small being inside a vast universe. But the truth is the reverse. The entire universe is inside you. And you are the vast awareness in which all things appear. Think about your dreams at night. Where do those dreams take place? You might dream of traveling to Paris, climbing mountains, meeting people, experiencing entire lifetimes. But when you wake up, where were you? You were in your bed the entire time. The Paris you visited, the mountains you climbed, the people you met, all of it was happening inside your consciousness. None of it was out there. And I tell you with absolute certainty, your waking life is no different. It is simply a more stable, more consistent, more convincing dream. But it is still happening entirely within consciousness, not outside of it. You have never touched anything external to yourself. You have only experienced sensations within your consciousness. You have never seen anything outside of yourself. You have only experienced images within your consciousness. You have never heard anything external to yourself. You have only experienced sounds within your consciousness. Every single experience you have ever had. Every sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, thought, feeling, and sensation has occurred nowhere but within your own awareness. You have literally never experienced anything outside of consciousness, because there is no outside of consciousness. Scientists speak of the brain creating a model of reality based on sensory inputs, but they have it backwards. Consciousness is not creating a model of an external reality. Consciousness is creating the entire experience of reality, including the apparent sensory inputs themselves. When you look at a tree, light does not bounce off an external tree and enter your eyes. Your consciousness generates the entire experience of seeing a tree. The light, the eyes, the tree, and the seeing itself are all occurring within consciousness. This is why imagination and perception feel different, but are fundamentally the same process. When you imagine a tree, you know you are generating it in consciousness. When you perceive a tree, you believe you are seeing something external, but both are consciousness generating experience. The only difference is the intensity and the belief you hold about the source. The mystics have always known this truth. When Buddha said all that we are is the result of what we have thought, he was teaching this principle. When Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you, he was revealing that everything exists in consciousness, not in an external world. When the ancient texts declare the world is illusion, they mean that what appears to be an external, solid, independent reality is actually consciousness appearing as reality. You are not in the world is in you. You are not a body walking around in space. You are consciousness generating the experience of having a body and moving through space. And once you understand this, really understand it, not just intellectually but experientially, you realize you have complete power over your entire reality. Because your reality is not happening to you from outside. It is happening from you, within you, as an expression of your consciousness. The limitations you experience are not imposed by an external world. They are generated by your consciousness according to the assumptions you hold. Change your consciousness, and the entire simulation must change, because the simulation is consciousness expressing itself as experience. This is not philosophy or mysticism removed from practical life. This is the most practical truth you can know. Because when you realize that everything is happening inside consciousness, you stop trying to change things out there, and you start changing consciousness itself. And changing consciousness is instant, effortless, and always effective. So how do you live with this knowledge? How do you function day to day knowing that your life is a simulation and you are its creator? First, you stop giving power to appearances. When something unwanted appears on your screen, you do not fight it, fear it, or accept it as ultimate reality. You simply recognize it as the content of an old simulation still playing out, and you begin running a new one. Second, you take full responsibility for everything in your experience, not as blame but as power. If everything is your consciousness pushed out, then you have the power to change anything by changing your consciousness. Third, you become vigilant about what you are assuming. Your assumptions are the code running your simulation. Change the code, and the output must change. Fourth, you live in the end of your desires. You run the simulation you want to experience, not the one based on current appearances. You project the film you wish to see on the screen of your life. A businessman came to me whose company was failing. Every day brought new problems, new setbacks, new evidence of impending collapse. The simulation he was experiencing was one of failure and loss. But I taught him to stop looking at the screen and start controlling the projector. Instead of reacting to each new problem, he began running a different simulation in his consciousness. One where his business was thriving, successful, and profitable. Every morning, before looking at sales figures or financial reports, he would spend time in his consciousness experiencing his business as successful. He would feel the satisfaction of strong revenues, loyal customers, and smooth operations. He would run this simulation so vividly that it felt more real than the current problems on his screen. And then, throughout the day, whenever evidence of the failing business appeared, he would not give it power. He would simply recognize it as old content still playing out while his new simulation was taking hold. Within 6 months, his business had completely turned around. New opportunities had appeared, old problems had resolved, and the company was more profitable than ever. The screen had finally caught up with the new content he had been running in his consciousness. Tonight, I want you to leave here with this understanding, burned into your consciousness. You are not a character in someone else's story. You are not subject to forces beyond your control. You are not at the mercy of the world out there. You are the consciousness running a simulation. And that simulation's your life must perfectly reflect whatever assumptions are running through your awareness. The people in your life are characters playing roles. You have assigned them through your assumptions about them and yourself. The circumstances you face are scenarios generated by your beliefs about what is possible and necessary. The limitations you experience are rules you programmed into your simulation. But you can change the program at any moment. You can run a different simulation. You can project different content onto the screen of your experience. Stop looking at the screen as though it has power over you. It is perfectly passive, perfectly responsive, perfectly obedient to whatever your consciousness projects upon it. Start controlling the projector. Change your inner conversation. Revise your assumptions. Maintain the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Run the simulation you desire to experience. And then watch as the screen, your outer world, has no choice but to display the new content you are projecting from consciousness. Nothing happens out there. Everything happens in here, in consciousness, and then appears out there as your experience. You are not in the simulation. You are running the simulation. And once you truly know this, you become the conscious creator you were always meant to be. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video. Good evening, my friends. Tonight, I am going to resolve one of the greatest paradoxes in manifestation. Tonight, I am going to show you how to let go of your desire without giving up on your desire. This confuses nearly everyone who studies the law. They hear let go and they think it means stop wanting. They hear detach and they think it means stop caring. They hear surrender and they think it means give up. But this is not what letting go means. Not at all. Tonight you will learn the difference between letting go and giving up. You will learn how to release your desperate grip on your desire while simultaneously remaining absolutely faithful to your assumption. You will learn how to detach from the outcome while staying completely committed to the state. This is the paradox. And when you understand it, when you truly grasp how to let go without giving up, manifestation becomes effortless. Let me first show you what happens when you hold on too tightly to your desire. You want something desperately. You think about it constantly. You check for signs obsessively. You analyze every circumstance, every synchronicity, every moment, trying to see if it is working. You wake up in the morning and immediately think, is it here yet? Has it manifested? Let me check my bank account. Let me see if there are any signs. Throughout your day, your mind returns to your desire again and again. When will it come? How will it come? What if it doesn't come? Am I doing this right? Maybe I need to visualize more. Maybe I need to affirm more. Your desire consumes you. It dominates your thoughts. It creates anxiety, desperation, and constant vigilance. This is holding on too tightly. And holding on too tightly is the very thing that pushes your desire away. Why? Because desperate holding comes from lack. It comes from the state of not having. It comes from fear that if you do not hold on tightly enough, your desire will slip away. But your desire cannot slip away. It already exists in consciousness. The only thing preventing it from manifesting is your desperate grasping, which affirms that you do not have it. Think of it like holding sand. When you grip sand tightly in your fist, trying desperately to hold every grain, what happens? The sand slips through your fingers. The tighter you grip, the more you lose. But when you relax your hand, when you let go of the desperate grip, the sand rests peacefully in your open palm. This is the paradox. Holding on tightly pushes away. Letting go allows manifestation. Now, before I teach you how to let go, let me be clear about what giving up looks like, because you must understand the difference. Giving up means abandoning your desire entirely, deciding it is not possible for you, accepting lack as your permanent reality, returning to the old state of consciousness, living as though you will never have what you want. Giving up is resignation. It is defeat. It is saying, I wanted this, but I cannot have it, so I will stop trying. Giving up comes from disbelief. It comes from the assumption that the law does not work, that your desire is impossible, that you are not worthy or capable of having what you want. This is not what I am teaching you tonight. Giving up is not the answer. Giving up keeps you trapped in lack. What I am teaching you is something completely different. I am teaching you to let go while remaining in the state, to release the desperate grip while holding the assumption, to surrender the how and when while staying faithful to the what. Letting go means releasing your desperate attachment to how and when your desire will manifest. It means trusting consciousness to deliver your desire without needing to control every detail. It means resting in the state of the wish fulfilled without anxiously monitoring whether it is working. Let me break this down. When you hold on too tightly, you have very specific ideas about how your desire must manifest. The money must come through my job. They must call me first. The healing must happen through this specific treatment. You are not just assuming the end. You are trying to dictate the bridge. You are trying to control the path consciousness uses to deliver your desire. This creates resistance. Why? Because you are limiting infinite consciousness to your finite ideas about possibility. Letting go of the how means I know I have my desire in consciousness. I do not know how it will manifest in physical form, and I do not need to know. Consciousness will build the bridge. My job is to stay in the state. This is trust. This is faith. This is letting go without giving up. When you hold on too tightly, you become obsessed with timing. Why hasn't it happened yet? It's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 months. It's been 2 years. When will it finally manifest? You are measuring, calculating, worrying about time. And every moment you spend anxious about when is a moment you spend in the state of not having. Letting go of the when means, I have my desire now in consciousness. The physical manifestation will appear at the perfect time. I do not need to know when. I simply know it is done. This is patience, not passive waiting but active trust. You are not waiting for your desire. You are resting in your desire, knowing the shadow will appear when the light is ready. You must let go of the need. This is perhaps the most important aspect of letting go. When you hold on too tightly, you need your desire to feel complete. You need it to feel happy. You need it to feel worthy. You need it to feel like your life has meaning. This need is the problem. Why? Because need comes from lack. When you need something, you are affirming you do not have it. You are dwelling in the state of incompleteness, and consciousness creates from the state you dwell in. Letting go of the need means, I have my desire in consciousness, and that fulfills me now. I do not need the physical manifestation to feel complete. I am already complete. The physical manifestation is simply the icing on the cake. This is the ultimate detachment, not detachment from the desire itself, but detachment from needing the physical form to feel fulfilled. When you truly let go without giving up, you enter a very specific state of consciousness. I call it peaceful certainty. Not anxious hoping, not desperate grasping, not fearful watching, but peaceful certainty. You are certain your desire is yours. This certainty is unshakable. You know it the way you know your own name. There is no doubt, but you are also peaceful. You are not consumed by it. You are not checking constantly. You are not desperate for it to appear. You are simply resting in the knowing that it is done. Now let me teach you the practical method for letting go without giving up. Step 1. Establish your assumption firmly. Before you can let go, you must first establish what you are not letting go of. You are not letting go of your desire. You are not letting go of your assumption. You are not letting go of the state of the wish fulfilled. You are letting go of the desperate grip, the anxious checking, the obsessive monitoring. So first, firmly establish your assumption. I have my desire. It is done in consciousness. This is absolute fact. Feel this, know this, settle into this with complete certainty. Only when you have truly assumed your desire can you let go of the anxiety around it. Step 2. Recognize what is already done. Remind yourself in consciousness, my desire is already accomplished. There is nothing more I need to do to create it. It exists. It is mine. The work is complete. This recognition is crucial. When you understand the work is already done in consciousness, you realize there is nothing to anxiously hold on to. You are not holding on to a possibility. You are resting in a reality. Step 3. Release the timeline. Say to yourself, I do not know when this will manifest in physical form, and I do not need to know. Time is irrelevant. In consciousness, it is already done. The physical manifestation will appear at the perfect moment. Then stop counting days. Stop measuring time. Stop asking when. The when is none of your concern. Your concern is the state. Occupy the state, and let time take care of itself. Step 4. Release the pathway. Say to yourself, I do not know how this will manifest, and I do not need to know. Consciousness will build the bridge. Opportunities I cannot foresee will appear. Circumstances I cannot imagine will align. I trust the process completely. Then stop trying to figure out the how. Stop planning the path. Stop limiting consciousness to your ideas about possibility. Let consciousness surprise you with the how. Step 5. Find fulfillment in the state itself. This is the key to true detachment. Find your satisfaction not in the physical manifestation, but in the state of consciousness. When you can feel wealthy in consciousness and be satisfied with that feeling, even before the money appears, you have let go of the need. When you can feel loved in consciousness and be complete in that feeling, even before the person appears, you have let go of the desperate grasping. The physical manifestation becomes a bonus, a pleasant confirmation, rather than a necessity for your happiness. Step 6. Live your life fully. Here is how you know you have let go. You can think about your desire without obsessing over it. You can go hours or even days without checking for signs. You can engage fully in your present life while your desire manifests behind the scenes. Letting go means you return to living, not waiting, not watching, not hoping. Living. You go to work. You enjoy hobbies. You spend time with friends. You engage with the present moment. Your desire is settled in consciousness, and you trust it is working itself out while you live your life. This is the paradox. The more you can live as though you do not desperately need your desire, the faster it manifests. Why? Because living fully is the state of having, not the state of lacking. This concept of letting go without giving up is what I call the Sabbath. In the Bible, God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. The rest was not laziness or abandonment. The rest was knowing the work was complete. When you assume your desire, when you plant the seed in consciousness, you have done your work. The seed is planted. Now you rest. Resting does not mean giving up. It means trusting that the seed will grow without you anxiously digging it up every day to check on it. Imagine a farmer who plants seeds and then immediately digs them up to see if they are growing. He does this every day, planting, digging up, checking, replanting. What happens? The seeds never grow. His anxious interference prevents the natural process. But the wise farmer plants the seed and then rests. He does not dig it up. He does not anxiously check it. He trusts the process. He waters it appropriately, tends the soil when needed, but mostly he rests, knowing the seed will become a harvest in due season. This is Sabbath. This is letting go without giving up. You plant the seed in consciousness through assumption. Then you rest in faith, knowing the harvest will come. Let me clarify something important. Detachment is not the same as indifference. Indifference means you do not care. You have lost interest. The desire no longer matters to you. Detachment means you care deeply, but you do not need the physical form to feel complete. You have your desire in consciousness, and that satisfies you. The physical form will be wonderful when it arrives, but you are already fulfilled. Indifference is giving up. Detachment is letting go. Here is a simple test. If someone asked you about your desire and you feel nothing, no joy, no satisfaction, no connection, that is indifference. You have abandoned the desire. But if someone asked about your desire and you feel peaceful certainty, quiet joy, satisfied knowing, that is detachment. You have let go of the desperate grip while remaining in the state. Now let me explain why letting go. True letting go, not giving up, actually speeds up your manifestation. When you hold on desperately, you are in the state of lack. Every anxious thought, every desperate check, every fearful worry is an affirmation. I do not have this yet. And consciousness creates from the state you occupy. So you create more lack, more waiting, more absence. But when you let go, when you release the desperate grip and rest in the assumption, you are in the state of having. You are peaceful because you have your desire in consciousness. You are certain because you know it is done. And consciousness creates from this state. It creates having. It creates certainty. It creates manifestation. The paradox is this. The less you need it to appear, the faster it appears. Why? Because not needing it to appear is the state of having it. Think about things you already have. Do you desperately need your hands to appear? Do you anxiously check whether they are still attached to your body? No. You take them for granted because you have them. When you can take your desire for granted in consciousness, when you can be so certain you have it that you do not need to check, you are in the state of possession. And the state of possession manifests possession. Let me tell you about a woman who learned this principle through experience. She desired to be in a relationship with a specific person. For months she practiced every technique. She visualized, she affirmed, she did the state akin to sleep technique every night. But she was also desperate. She was sitting by her phone waiting. She checked the post constantly. She analyzed every interaction. She was consumed by the desire to the point where it ruled her life, and nothing happened. Months passed. The relationship did not manifest. She came to me frustrated and exhausted. I am doing everything right, she said. Why is it not working? I said, you are not doing everything right. You are holding on too tightly. You are strangling your desire with desperation. But if I let go, she said, won't that mean I am giving up? No, I told her. Letting go means releasing the desperate grip while staying in the state. You can stop checking your phone and still know you are loved. You can stop analyzing every moment and still remain in the assumption of the relationship fulfilled. Let go of the how and when. Keep the what. She understood. She went home and made a decision. I am in a loving relationship with this person. This is done in consciousness. Now I let go of needing to see how or when it manifests. I rest in the knowing that it is done. And she truly let go. She stopped waiting by the phone. She stopped waiting desperately. She stopped analyzing. She returned to living her life fully. Let me give you a simple daily practice for mastering this principle. In the morning, establish the assumption. Wake up and immediately assume your desire is fulfilled. Feel it. Know it. This sets your state for the day. I have this, it is done. In consciousness, I am already living in my desire fulfilled. Throughout the day, live fully. Go about your life. Work. Play. Engage. Do not spend your day checking for signs or obsessing over your desire. If your mind drifts to your desire, simply remind yourself, it is done. I do not need to check. I rest in this knowing. Then return to whatever you were doing. In the evening, release the day. Before bed, consciously let go of any anxiety, any desperate thoughts, any grasping that accumulated during the day. I release the how. I release the when. I release the need to see it now. I rest in the certainty that it is done in consciousness. Then do your state akin to sleep practice. Fall asleep in the state of the wish fulfilled. This rhythm, morning assumption, daily living, evening release, will train you to let go without giving up. Here is the ultimate truth about letting go. The moment you can truly let go is the moment you no longer need to. When you have so completely assumed your desire, when you have so fully embodied the state, when you are so absolutely certain it is yours in consciousness, you naturally let go. Not as an effort, not as a technique, but as a natural result of truly knowing. You do not hold tightly to things you know you possess. You simply have them. And when you know you have your desire in consciousness, when you truly, deeply, unshakably know, you let go of the desperate grasping automatically. This is mastery, not forcing yourself to let go, but naturally releasing because you are so certain of possession. How do you know when you have truly let go without giving up? Here are the signs. You stop checking constantly. Hours or even days pass without you thinking obsessively about your desire. When you do think of it, it is with peaceful certainty, not anxious hope. You can engage fully in the present moment. You are not perpetually waiting for your desire to appear. You are living now, enjoying now, being present now. The circumstances do not disturb you. When something appears to contradict your assumption, you remain peaceful. You know it is just the old reflection, and you trust your new state is already creating the new reality. You feel fulfilled now. You do not need the physical manifestation to feel complete. You are satisfied in consciousness, and the physical form will be a bonus. You have stopped trying to force or control. You are not manipulating, scheming, or trying to make things happen. You have planted the seed and you trust the harvest. These signs indicate you have mastered the paradox. You have let go of the desperate grip while remaining absolutely faithful to your assumption. Tonight I want you to practice letting go without giving up. Before you fall asleep, establish your assumption firmly. I have my desire. It is done in consciousness. This is absolute truth. Feel this, know this, rest in this. Then consciously let go. I release the how. I release the when. I release the need to see it manifest right now. I trust consciousness to deliver this in the perfect way at the perfect time. Feel the relief of letting go. Feel the peace of not having to control everything. Feel the faith of knowing it is done even though you do not see it yet. Then fall asleep in the state of the wish fulfilled. Tomorrow when you wake, return to your assumption. But throughout your day, practice letting go. Stop checking, stop obsessing, live fully, trust completely. This is the way. Hold the assumption with certainty. Release the anxiety with faith. Letting go does not mean giving up. Letting go means trusting. You let go of the desperate grip. You do not let go of the desire. You let go of the how and when. You do not let go of the what. You let go of the need for physical proof. You do not let go of the certainty in consciousness. This is the paradox that unlocks everything. When you can want something deeply, assume it completely, and simultaneously release your desperate attachment to how and when it manifests, you have mastered manifestation. You are faithful to your assumption while peaceful in your detachment. You are certain of your desire while relaxed in your trust. You hold on to the state while letting go of the strain. Do this and watch as your desires manifest with an ease that will astound you. Not because you worked harder, but because you learned to let go without giving up. Thank you and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.
How do you believe in something when every physical sense, every rational thought, and every logical conclusion screams that it's impossible? This is the greatest mystery and yet holds the key to mastering your world. Imagine, if you will, standing before a massive wall of facts, cold, hard facts that tell you what you desire cannot be. Perhaps it's a medical report with undeniable statistics, a bank statement showing insufficient funds, or circumstances that appear permanently fixed against your desires. Your reason says, this is impossible. Yet I tell you, this very moment, that the impossible is the unrecognized expression of a higher law. Let me share with you a story of one of my students. She came to me with tears in her eyes, clutching medical reports that stated she would never bear children. 3 specialists had confirmed it, and her rational mind accepted this as her reality. But she dared to do something remarkable. She dared to live in the end. Every night, as she drifted off to sleep, she felt the wake of a baby in her arms. She heard the soft croos, felt the gentle breathing, experienced the warmth of holding her child. Her senses denied it, her doctors denied it, the world denied it, but she persisted in her assumption. Today, she cradles not an imaginary child, but her flesh and blood daughter. How? By understanding that what we call reality is simply the outer picture of accepted beliefs. You see, your logical mind is both your greatest ally and your most formidable opponent. It's designed to keep you safe, to process what it knows, to rely on past experiences and current evidence. But I tell you this, your logical mind deals only with shadows, with reflections of past beliefs. It knows nothing of the creative power that dwells within you. Consider this. Everything in your world, from the chair you're sitting on not to the most advanced technology, was once seemed impossible. It was once merely a thought, an idea that reason denied could ever be manifest. The Wright brothers were told human flight was impossible. The concept of instantaneous global communication was once considered madness. Every medical breakthrough, every technological advancement, every human achievement began as something reason denied. The secret lies in understanding that your consciousness, your awareness of being, precedes all evidence. Think of it this way. When you enter a dark room and flip the switch, do you doubt that light will flood the space? No, you have absolute confidence in this outcome based on countless experiences. Yet, if you had never seen electricity or its effects, such an expectation would seem foolish, impossible. Your current desires, your goals, your aspirations, they are no different from that light switch. The only difference is your level of conviction. Now, let me share with you the fundamental principles that will enable you to believe despite all contrary evidence. First, understand that your consciousness is the only reality. Everything you see in your world, simply consciousness pushed out. Every person, every circumstance, every condition is simply your consciousness objectified. This means that your current situation, no matter how seemingly solid, is nothing more than a shadow of past beliefs. The second principle is this: the future is created twice, first in your consciousness, and then in your world of effects. Most people wait for circumstances to change before they believe in the desire's fulfillment. This is like waiting for a reflection in the mirror to smile before you do. It's backward thinking, and it keeps you bound to current circumstances. Instead, you must dare to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, regardless of apparent contradictions. If you desire financial abundance, you must capture and maintain the feeling of wealth, security, and generosity, even as your bank account shows otherwise. If you seek perfect health, you must live from the assumption of vibrant well-being, even as current symptoms persist. This is not denial, this is a correct use of your creative power. But how, you might ask, can one maintain such a belief in the face of contrary evidence? The secret lies in your ability to lose yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you go to sleep at night, do you doubt that the sun will rise tomorrow? Of course not. You have absolute faith in this natural law. Similarly, you must cultivate that same level of certainty in your desired end. Let me share with you a profound technique that I've seen transform countless lives. When you lie down to sleep tonight, instead of rehearsing your problems or reviewing your day, create a simple scene that would imply your desire is already fulfilled. Make it short, make it clear, and make it natural. Perhaps it's a friend congratulating you on your achievement. Maybe it's looking at your bank statement with a sense of satisfaction. Whatever your desire, create a scene that would naturally occur if your wish were realized. Now here's the crucial part that most miss. You must enter the scene fully. Don't watch it like a movie. Be the protagonist in your own drama. Feel the handshake, hear the words, experience the emotions that would accompany your fulfilled desire. Your rational mind would protest, will present evidence of impossibility, will remind you of past failures. But remember that your present circumstances are nothing more than the harvest of seeds planted in your past. They have no power to determine your future unless you give them that power through your attention and belief. I recall a gentleman who attended my lectures years ago. He was facing bankruptcy, his business crumbling around him. Every financial advisor, every market indicator, every rational assessment predicted his complete ruin. But he grasped this principle, and every night, in his imagination, he would sit at his desk, looking at his books, feeling the relief and satisfaction of his business thriving. His accountant thought him delusional, his partners thought him in denial, but he persisted in his assumption. Within 6 months, a series of coincidences, though I tell you there are no coincidences, transformed his business completely. You see, the world is not operating the way your senses suggest. Your senses show you effects, while your imagination deals with causes. When you change the cause, your conscious assumption, the effects must follow, for this is law. It's not hope. It's not positive thinking. It's not mere wishful thinking. It's the deliberate use of the creative power within you. Figure it this way: your consciousness is like a garden, and your assumptions are the seeds you plant. Your current circumstances are merely the harvest of past planting. If you don't like what you're harvesting, you must change what you're planting. But here's the vital point: you don't wait until you see the new crop before you believe in it. The farmer plants with absolute faith in the harvest, even though no evidence of that harvest exists at the time of planting. The key to maintaining your belief in the face of contrary evidence lies in understanding time. Your physical senses are bound by time. They can only report what is. But your imagination is not bound by time. In your imagination, you can be and do and have any heating desire. When you've lived from the end, when you persistently occupy the state of your wish fulfilled, you're actually experiencing your future now. This is why I tell you that what you desire already exists in what I call the fourth dimensional world of consciousness. Let me give you a practical example. Suppose you desire a promotion at work, but all evidence suggests it's impossible. There are no openings, you lack certain qualifications, others have more seniority. Instead of accepting these facts, you create a scene implying the promotion is yours. Perhaps it's as simple as hearing a colleague congratulate you, or signing documents with your new title. You enter this scene every night, feeling its naturalness, experiencing the satisfaction and pride that would be yours. Now your rational mind will present all the reasons this cannot be. It will remind you of your lack of qualifications, the competition, the economic climate. This is where most people falter. They give power to these facts and abandon their assumption. But I tell you this, those very facts that seem so solid, so unchangeable, are nothing more than shadows of past beliefs. They have no power to create or prevent, except that which you give them through your attention and belief. Consider for a moment the nature of your own faults and beliefs. Every limitation you cannot experience, every obstacle you face was first detected in your consciousness before it became a physical fact. The outer world is dead, passive, and purely mechanical. It has no power to create, to alter, or to sustain itself. It merely reflects, with mathematical precision, the beliefs held in consciousness. Let me share another extraordinary example that illustrates this principle perfectly. A woman in my audience once approached me, devastated by a relationship that had ended. Every attempt at reconciliation had failed, and all external evidence suggested it was truly over. Instead of accepting this reality, she began to sleep in the assumption that they were happily together. In her imagination, she felt his presence beside her, heard his breathing, experienced the warmth of their connection. Her friends called her delusional, her family urged her to face reality, but she persisted in her assumption. Now, watch this carefully. She didn't try to make it happen in the external world. She didn't pursue him, didn't scheme or plan. She simply lived in the end, feeling the naturalness of being with him. Within weeks, through a series of events that no one could have predicted or orchestrated, they were reunited. The external circumstances rearranged themselves to match her internal assumption. This is the law I'm revealing to you tonight. The external world must conform to your sustained internal assumptions. But remember, these must be assumptions, not mere wishes or hopes. When you assume something, you live from it, you think from it, you act naturally from it. If you won $1 million, you wouldn't constantly think about having won it. You would simply live from that state of abundance. This is how you must treat your desire, live from it, not toward it. The question then becomes, how do you maintain this assumption when your senses free otherwise? The secret lies in understanding that your senses can only show you what is, never what can be. They are limited to reporting the effects of past assumptions. Adieu. The conscious being that you are, operate in the realm of infinite possibilities. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a dark room with a flashlight. Wherever you point a being, that's what becomes visible to you. Your attention is like that flashlight beam. Whatever you focus on expands in your experience. When you consistently focus your attention on the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you're literally illuminating that reality into existence. But here's where most people stumble. They try to believe in their desire while simultaneously looking for evidence of its fulfillment. This divided mind, this double vision, prevents the manifestation of their desire. You must be bold enough to completely ignore the evidence of your senses when it contradicts your desire. This doesn't mean denying current circumstances. It means knowing they are transient, knowing they must change to conform to your new assumption. Remember, the feeling is the secret. Not the physical sensation, but the feeling of naturalness, the feeling of already being what you want to be. When something is natural to you, you don't think about it constantly. You don't wonder if it's possible. You simply are it. This is the state you must capture and maintain regarding your desire. Let me give you a practical technique for this. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, ask yourself this question. How would I feel if my desire were ready for truth? Then capture that feeling. Don't just think about it, feel it. Feel the relief, the satisfaction, the joy, the naturalness of having what you desire. Fall asleep in this feeling. Your logical mind may protest, may present all the reasons why this is impossible. Thank it for its concern, but persist in your assumption. What you're doing in these moments before sleep is accessing the most powerful creative state available to you. In that drowsy state between waking and sleeping, your rational mind's resistance is lowest and your subconscious mind is most receptive. This is why I emphasize the importance of your last 5 minutes of consciousness before sleep. These moments are golden opportunities to impress your desire upon the subconscious mind. Now, let me address something that many struggle with. The interval of time between planting your seed and seeing its manifestation. This is where your faith will be tested most severely. The temptation will be to check constantly for signs of manifestation, to dig up your seed to see if it's growing. But just as a farmer doesn't dig up his seeds to check their progress, you must not constantly check for evidence of your desire's fulfillment. Instead, rest in the absolute knowing that what you have assumed must materialize. The how and when are not your concern. Your only task is to maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The external world will rearrange itself to match your assumption through bridge of incidents that you could not possibly orchestrate or predict.
Right now, at this very moment,
You're living in a reality that's smaller than what's actually possible for you. Not because you lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because somewhere along the way, you accepted limitations that were never really yours to begin with. You inherited them from well-meaning parents who were terrified you'd get hurt, absorbed them from disappointed teachers who had given up on their own dreams, collected them from friends who mistook cynicism for wisdom. These limitations don't feel like lies because they've been with you so long. They've become part of your identity. They whisper in your own voice, using your own logic, presenting themselves as wisdom and protection. They construct elaborate stories about why you should stay where you are, why you should be grateful for what you have, why you should stop wanting more. But here's what they don't want you to realize. These aren't truths about reality. They're just stories, and stories can be rewritten by the author. You are the author. The human brain is a marvel of evolution, capable of processing millions of bits of information every second. Yet it operates on programs that were designed for survival in a world that no longer exists. It's wired to spot danger, avoid pain, and maintain the status quo at all costs. Your brain treats uncertainty as threat, change as danger, and growth as risk. It would rather keep you miserable but safe than happy but vulnerable. But you, the real you, the consciousness that observes your thoughts rather than being trapped by them, you have the power to override these ancient survival programs. You can choose to see uncertainty as adventure, change as opportunity, discomfort as the price of growth. This isn't positive thinking or denial of reality. This is recognizing that you are not your thoughts, you are not your fears, and you are certainly not the voice that tells you to stay small and play it safe. Consider this. Every morning, you wake up with the same fundamental power that built civilizations, launched revolutions, created every piece of art that has ever moved you, and developed every innovation that has improved human life. The power to choose, not just what to wear or eat, but who to become, what to believe, how to interpret everything that happens to you. You can choose courage over comfort, growth over safety, possibility over certainty, love over fear. Yet most people sleepwalk through this incredible gift. They make the same choices day after day, follow the same mental patterns, react to situations the same way they always have, and then wonder why their lives feel stuck in an endless loop. They're like someone standing in front of an enormous banquet of possibilities, eating the same stale sandwich because it's familiar. The tragedy isn't that they don't have options. It's that they've forgotten how to see them. But something inside you is awakening to these possibilities, isn't it? You can feel it stirring, that recognition that there's more available to you than what you're currently experiencing. That feeling isn't just hope or wishful thinking. It's your consciousness recognizing truth. It's your authentic self reminding you of who you really are, beneath all the layers of conditioning, compromise, and quiet desperation. Let me share something that will fundamentally shift how you see yourself and your potential. Every expert was once a complete beginner who had no idea what they were doing. Every master started as someone who was terrible at their craft. Every person you admire, every success story that inspires you, every achievement that seems impossible from where you sit, they all began with someone who felt unprepared, uncertain, and absolutely terrified. The Wright brothers were bicycle mechanics who decided to solve the problem of human flight. Marie Curie was a Polish immigrant who couldn't afford proper laboratory equipment. Oprah Winfrey grew up in poverty and faced more rejection than most people experience in a lifetime. Colonel Sanders was 62 years old when he franchised KFC. What separated these individuals from millions of others with similar dreams wasn't superior preparation, perfect circumstances, or the absence of fear. It was their willingness to act despite uncertainty, to move forward despite feeling unprepared. They understood something that successful people throughout history have discovered. Readiness isn't a feeling that arrives like a package delivery. It's a decision you make despite not feeling ready. Confidence doesn't create action. Action creates confidence. You don't have to feel brave to act bravely. You don't have to feel capable to demonstrate capability. You don't have to have all the answers to take the first step into the unknown. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. No amount of studying balance, physics, or momentum could prepare you for the actual experience of staying upright on two wheels. You had to get on the bike and wobble, fall, get back up, and try again until your body learned what your mind couldn't teach it. Life works the same way. You learn by doing, not by preparing to do. This principle applies to every area of your existence. The relationship you haven't pursued because you might get hurt. The business idea you haven't acted on because you don't have enough capital. The creative project you haven't started because you think you're not talented enough. The conversation you haven't had because it might be uncomfortable. The dream you haven't chased because it seems unrealistic given your current circumstances. All of these represent opportunities disguised as obstacles, possibilities masquerading as problems. Your brain, desperate to keep you safe, has convinced you that these are legitimate barriers when they're actually invitations to grow, to expand, to become more than you currently are. But here's where most people get trapped in an endless cycle of preparation. They wait for inspiration to strike like lightning, for motivation to arrive like a scheduled train, for confidence to download into their consciousness fully formed. They don't realize that successful people don't wait for these feelings. They create them through action. They understand that the path reveals itself to those who begin walking, not to those who stand at the starting line with a map, compass, and detailed weather report. Let's talk about what you really want. Beneath all the practical considerations and reasonable limitations that have been programmed into your thinking, what would you attempt if you knew failure was impossible? What would you create if resources weren't a concern? What would you become if other people's opinions carried no weight in your decisions? Who would you be if you could design yourself from scratch, free from all the stories about what's realistic for someone with your background, education, age, or circumstances? These aren't just hypothetical questions designed to make you feel good. They're reconnaissance missions into the depths of your authentic desires, revealing the dreams that are uniquely yours to fulfill. Your dreams aren't random accidents or products of wishful thinking. They're assignments from your highest self, breadcrumbs leading you toward your greatest potential, glimpses of the person you're capable of becoming. The fact that you can imagine something means it exists in the realm of possibility for you. The fact that certain dreams stir something deep inside you means they're connected to your purpose, aligned with your authentic path. Your imagination isn't a source of torture, showing you things you can't have. It's a preview of coming attractions, a trailer for the movie of your life that you have the power to direct. But here's what keeps most people trapped in the gap between dreaming and achieving. They confuse the magnitude of their dreams with the size of their first steps. They think that big visions require big initial actions, massive investments, perfect plans, and ideal circumstances. They don't realize that every transformation, no matter how dramatic, begins with tiny adjustments, micro decisions, and small brave choices that compound over time into extraordinary results. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow to start building your business empire. You can begin with 30 minutes before work, creating something meaningful while the world sleeps. You don't need to move across the country to pursue your dreams of artistic expression. You can start where you are, with what you have, transforming your current space into a laboratory for creativity. You don't need to have everything figured out before you begin. You figure it out by beginning, adjust course as you go, and trust that clarity comes through action, not before it. The compound effect of small, consistent actions is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Yet it's invisible to most people because they're looking for dramatic, immediate results. If you saved a single penny today and doubled it every day for a month, you'd have over $5 million. But most people would look at that penny and think it's insignificant. They focus on the size of the action instead of the power of consistency, on the starting point instead of the trajectory. Your current circumstances are not your permanent address. They're your temporary mailing address while you're under construction. Where you come from doesn't determine where you can go. Your past doesn't define your future unless you keep using it as a reference point for what's possible. Every sunrise brings a new opportunity to choose a different direction make a different decision, become a different version of yourself. But this requires something that's become rare in our instant gratification culture. Patience with the process and impatience with inaction. Most people have it backwards. They're patient with staying stuck and impatient with growth. They want overnight success from part-time commitment, immediate results from minimal effort, life-changing transformation from comfortable choices. Real transformation works differently. It requires you to fall in love with the daily practice, not just the eventual outcome. To find joy in the process of becoming, not just the moment of arrival. To celebrate small victories while working toward large visions. To trust that consistent movement in the right direction will eventually lead to extraordinary destinations, even when you can't see progress from day to day. Think of a bamboo plant, one of nature's most remarkable examples of patient persistence. For the first 4 years of its life, you see almost nothing above ground, just a tiny shoot that seems to grow impossibly slowly. But during those 4 years of apparent inactivity, something extraordinary is happening beneath the surface. The plant is developing an extensive root system, creating the foundation that will eventually support incredible growth. In the 5th year, that same bamboo can grow up to 90 feet tall in just 6 weeks. Your personal transformation follows the same pattern. The habits you're building today, the skills you're developing, the mindset shifts you're making. They might not be visible to others yet, but they're creating the internal infrastructure that will support your eventual breakthrough. The foundation you're laying in private will determine the height of the success you can build in public. This is why so many people give up just before their breakthrough moment. They plant seeds and expect immediate flowers. They start exercising and expect instant physical transformation. They begin learning a new skill and expect immediate mastery. When they don't see dramatic results quickly, they conclude that their efforts aren't working and abandon their dreams, never realizing they were just seasons away from harvest time. But you understand something that separates successful people from everyone else. Everything worthwhile takes time to develop. You're willing to invest in your future self, to make choices today that will benefit the person you're becoming tomorrow. You recognize that success isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's not about never falling down. It's about getting up one more time than you fall, learning something valuable from each stumble. Every setback contains the seeds of a comeback. Every failure provides feedback that success never could. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to develop strength, resilience, and character. The challenges you face aren't punishments for some cosmic crime you didn't commit. They're preparations. The universe's way of making sure you're ready for the level of success that's coming your way. Your unique combination of experiences, perspectives, struggles, and insights creates a lens through which you see the world that no one else in human history has ever possessed or ever will possess. Your exact mixture of strengths and vulnerabilities, victories and defeats, dreams and disappointments has equipped you with solutions to problems that others can't even see, answers to questions that others don't know how to ask. You're not just seeking personal success for selfish reasons. Whether you realize it or not, you're developing the capacity to serve others in ways that only you can. Your transformation becomes evidence that change is possible, that dreams are achievable, that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they decide to stop accepting ordinary results. The challenges you're facing right now, the obstacles that seem to be blocking your path, these aren't cosmic mistakes or evidence that you're not meant for success. They're specifically designed resistance training for your character. Customized obstacles that will develop exactly the qualities you need to handle the level of success you're moving toward. Think about it. If you achieved everything you wanted right now, this instant, without any growth or preparation, would you be ready to handle it? Would you have the character to manage it wisely? Would you have the skills to sustain it? Would you have the perspective to use it well? The delays and challenges you're experiencing aren't keeping you from your destiny. They're preparing you for it. This is why successful people often talk about being grateful for their failures, their rejections, their periods of struggle. Not because they enjoyed the pain, but because they recognize that those experiences forged the strength, wisdom, and resilience that made their eventual success possible. Without the struggle, they wouldn't have developed the capacity to handle the victory. But here's what most people don't understand about the relationship between struggle and success. It's not about enduring more pain than others or suffering longer than everyone else. It's about extracting value from your experiences, learning faster from your mistakes, and refusing to let temporary defeats become permanent identities. Every morning when you wake up, you're presented with a choice that will determine the trajectory of your entire day, and ultimately, your entire life. You can choose to see the day ahead as a burden to be endured or an adventure to be embraced. You can focus on what's missing from your life or what's possible in your future. You can rehearse old limitations or practice new possibilities. Most people make this choice unconsciously, defaulting to whatever mental pattern has become habitual. But conscious creators, people who deliberately design their lives instead of just accepting whatever happens, make this choice intentionally. They understand that how you start your day determines how you live your life. Your thoughts aren't random events that happen to you. They're choices you make, often unconsciously, but choices nonetheless. You can choose to think thoughts that empower you, or thoughts that diminish you. You can choose to focus on problems or possibilities, on what's wrong or what's working, on what you lack or what you're creating. This isn't about positive thinking or denying reality. This is about recognizing that your perspective shapes your experience, that your focus determines your feelings, that your mental habits create your life patterns. When you change how you think, you change how you feel. When you change how you feel, you change how you act. And when you change how you act, you change what happens to you. The most successful people aren't those who never face challenges. They're those who have developed the ability to see opportunities disguised as obstacles, to find gifts hidden inside apparent setbacks, to extract wisdom from every experience, whether it feels good or not. This skill isn't something you're born with or without. It's something you develop through practice, like building a muscle. Every time you choose a more empowering perspective, you strengthen your ability to do it again. Every time you reframe a challenge as an opportunity, you make it easier to see the next challenge differently. But this requires something that goes against everything our culture teaches us: the willingness to take responsibility for your life at a level that most people aren't prepared to accept. Not responsibility for everything that happens to you. Some things are genuinely outside your control, but responsibility for how you respond to everything that happens to you. This is perhaps the most liberating and terrifying realization you can have. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the architect of your response to your circumstances. You cannot always control what happens, but you can always choose what it means and what you'll do about it. When you truly internalize this truth, everything changes. You stop waiting for your circumstances to improve and start improving your response to your circumstances. You stop looking for someone to rescue you and start developing your own rescue skills. You stop hoping for an easier life and start building your capacity to handle a more challenging and rewarding one. The world needs what you have to offer, but not someday when you're perfect, not eventually when you have all the credentials, not later when you feel completely ready. The world needs your unique contribution now, in all your beautiful imperfection, with your authentic struggles and genuine passion. There are people waiting for the solution you'll create, the art you'll make, the business you'll build, the love you'll share, the example you'll set. There are problems that only you can solve, not because you're better than everyone else, but because your unique combination of experiences and insights has prepared you to see solutions that others miss. But none of this matters if you don't bridge the gap between insight and action, between understanding and implementation, between knowing what to do and actually doing it. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. Inspiration without implementation is just emotion. The distance between where you are and where you want to be can only be covered through decision and movement. So here's your moment of truth, your crossroads, your 5-second window expanded into this eternal present moment. You can close this message and return to your familiar patterns, your comfortable limitations, your reasonable excuses. You can let this stirring of possibility fade back into the background noise of everyday life, like so many stirrings before it. You can choose safety over growth, certainty over adventure, the known over the possible. Or you can recognize this moment for what it really is, an invitation from your highest self to step into the life you've always known was possible, but never quite believed you deserved. You can choose to see this not as just another piece of inspirational content, but as the catalyst for your transformation, the spark that ignites the fire of your authentic power. The choice is yours, as it always has been, as it always will be. But choices, like opportunities, don't wait forever. Every moment you delay is a moment you can never recover. Every day you postpone is a day your future self will never get back. The perfect moment is a fairy tale told by those who are too afraid to act. The right time is now. The right person is you.